Okay, our beloveds, today we wish to channel on being in the flow. The flow is when you are working on a particular task or doing a particular thing, and you get a strong knowing, and you stop doing what you are doing and you move to something else because the pull is so great. It is because the energy is ripe for that action, for that engagement, for that doing. When you all sit and blindly do your work, meaning that you mentally check out and just go through the rhythms, you are not really living, you are existing and performing. But when you are present in each moment and are really aware of what you are doing, this means you are not on autopilot, but your brain is engaged in what you are doing. When you are present, this allows for your consciousness also to glide smoothly around the bumps or pitfalls of life, as well as finding the natural rhythm or flow of where you are meant to go or be. The visual that we are giving our another is a water skier. A water skier is being propelled forward quickly behind a moving vehicle, and the water skier has to keep balance as well as shifting their weight to the right or to the left to go over the wake left by the vehicle, or to do tricks, or to simply move about with the flow. When you do this, instead of standing in a straight line and being pulled forward without any engagement or activity on your part, short of letting go or falling, you will find by allowing your intuition or your instinct to pull you to the right, to the left, over the wake, between the wake, you will find that by choosing your unique path based on where your body and your soul desires to go, that it is more invigorating, more enjoyable, and just the mere fact that you are actively participating and not simply being dragged behind a moving vehicle, you are engaging and determining much of the path of your own life. And it is exquisitely fun if you do it well. You will crash and burn some of the time. You presumably will suck some water down, and it might make you sick if it's a lot of seawater. And lastly, you may get bruised or broken bones or parts because something doesn't go quite as you would have preferred. But each of those experiences are much more exciting than simply holding on to that bar and being pulled straight forward in a squatting position, almost like you're sitting on the toilet. That is the fearful position that you may start off in at the outset because it's a new experience. But we ask you to find a flow and a rhythm thereafter. You will know when to move to a different activity, when to take a break and walk around the neighborhood, or to go get something to drink or something to eat. Maybe your body desires for you to go lay down somewhere and to rest for a bit because regeneration would be helpful at this moment. Sometimes making a phone call or just meditating for a moment will help to draw you back into the now. The point being is you guys are in this 8 to 5 construct where you believe that that's when you start and that's when you end and nothing should interfere with it. And in doing so, you literally give up much of your own living by punching a clock. Now we understand that this is the construct within which you live, and you can't just simply tell your boss, hey, I think I'm going to go for a 30-minute walk. We realize the impracticality of much of what we are saying. But within what is permitted, we encourage you to find those flexibilities. And if you have a job that doesn't offer any flexibility like this, we beg for you to relocate to a different job because you are not a slave. You're a human being who needs to breathe. You need to expand and retract. And if there is no flexibility in your job, except for in those circumstances where someone's life is on the line, for example, a surgeon or a tech in the surgical room, there are examples, of course, where you don't have the flexibility because somebody else's life depends upon it. But as a whole, if you have a job where you're not permitted to go to the bathroom when your body calls for this, you are not permitted to go sit in the corner for just 2 minutes to ground yourself, where you can ask somebody else, hey, can you just take over my shift for a minute? I'm feeling overwhelmed right now, and I just need to go do some deep breathing or step outside and get fresh air. If your employment does not offer that level of flexibility, which is rather small, we just ask that you consider finding a different job or asking for such flexibilities. If enough of you do ask for these types of changes, believe it or not, the workplace will need to change. If all of the employees within a work environment walk off of the job and continue to do this because the job expectations are just simply unrealistic, at some point the business will fail, or it will need to change the way that it operates. You, the employees, have as much opportunity to negotiate or renegotiate the terms of your employment. Now, if you have very little to offer, then we realize it's a little harder to negotiate such terms that you would desire to have. But start off small. Express your desire to be treated as a human and see how that flies. Do it with humility. Do it with love. Do it with compassion. And most importantly, do it with a lack of desire to control the outcome, but merely for you to learn how to express yourself and your needs. And therein lies the solution. You get to choose. You get to choose how you speak, how you dress, how you eat, ultimately where you work, what your values are and what they aren't, why you choose to live in one region over another. You have so much more control over your life than you actually realize. And now is the best time to begin to foster the ability to learn to speak up for yourself in a very loving way, a way of loving and honoring self over other. It's not something as a whole that you were taught. You were taught to love self, but more from a selfish perspective versus a self-observing, self-loving, self-caring perspective. So if, for example, you find $100 while you are walking down the sidewalk and you see the person ahead of you who lost it, where it fell out of their pocket. Selfish would mean you take the $100 and say, it's mine, finders, keepers. A self-caring perspective is, if I had lost this, how would I want somebody to handle the circumstance? And you go tap the person on the shoulder and say, "Excuse me, ma'am or sir, you dropped this $100. Do you see the difference? One is not giving up self for the other. It is actually a self-loving way of treating your neighbor as you wish to be treated yourself. It is a long journey, we realize, to get to the fullness of this way of living and being. But today, we just want to encourage you all to find that flow and to see how it feels when you are in it. You will find an excitement that will make the rest of your life seem rather boring, because the rest is so predictable. Whereas when you follow that inner flow, it allows you to be creative. And the best place to begin to do this is at your time at home, or when you are not at work, when you have this flexibility. It goes to, what would I like to do now? I think I'd like another cup of coffee. I just want to go sit in the garden and stare at my flowers, or I want to go play with my baby or with my puppy. What is it in that moment? Do not do it out of obligation or the inability to say no. Do it because it inspires your heart, and feel that exciting jolt. And then go do something that you don't want to do as a point of comparison. And then go back to what inspires you. And it doesn't have to be costly or expensive. It's a matter of where you choose to put your effort, your activity, and your point of inspiration. What will make your heart sing? Start there and then look at the reasonable options that are available to you at this time. And that is it. It is our little message today as we are winding down the week. We have found our way to the peak because it is hump day, and then now we're going to start rolling down the other side to Friday, which for many of you is the end of the work week. Focus on what makes you happy and what doesn't. If it makes you feel good, do more of it. And if it causes anxiety or a sense of non-well-being, then do less of it if it is an option. Be thoughtful, be mindful of how your actions do affect others. And since we had a technical glitch, we're going to just end our message here, and we will resume again tomorrow with the next lesson or message from the spirit world to the collective. And so it is. Namaste.